UFC Fight Night Des Moines, Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo is taking place this weekend. And I want to say a couple things about this card before I break it down. The main card, I don't mind it that much. Like, it's a pretty nice main card with a very good main event. But the prelims are atrocious. But regardless, I'm going to cover every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelims and then ending with the main event. And without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Starting off with the first fight of the night. Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic. Now, there are a lot of things you can do instead of watching this fight. You can take a smoke break. You can go to the bathroom and wash up, take a shower. You can even study for your finals, which I will probably be doing. I will have this fight playing on the background. And if I need to give a prediction for this fight, even though I don't really give a shit, and at best it's going to be 50-50 regardless, I'm going to go with Ivana Petrovic just because of her activity. Juliana Miller, she hasn't fought in the last 2 years or so, and she's coming off a loss to Luana Santos, I believe. Not a great aging loss, in my opinion. Ivana Petrovic, yeah, she's not looking great. She lost to Jamie Lynn Horth, which is not a great look as well. But again, she fights often, and I think that's gonna matter more in women's MMA because these fights mostly go to decisions. Like 98% of women's MMA fights go to decisions. And if it's gonna go to a decision, then Ivana Petrovic should have the advantage just because, again, of her activity. And it's a question as to whether or not Juliana Miller takes her career seriously, considering she hasn't fought in 2 years. So yeah, I'm gonna say that Ivana Petrovic gets this job done. 29-28 decision. If I had to guess, maybe like smudge grappling or like point fighting at shadow boxing range. Either way, I don't care that much. I'm not gonna lose any sleep just because I get this fight wrong, and we're gonna move on to the next fight. Ah, Thomas Peterson versus Dontel Mays. Fucking blob off here in UFC Des Moines. And again, similar to Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic, I don't really care. I do not give a shit about this fight. I'm gonna go with Dontel Mays because although he's looked like shit, so has Thomas Peterson. And Dontel Mays has more wins. And like he does have wins where like, oh, that's not horrible. Whereas Thomas Peterson, I don't remember a single win he's had where I went, all right, that's pretty good, or let alone a single win in the first place. Uh, I'm mostly using the Shamil Gaziev fight. I know it's not fair considering MMA math never works, but Shamil Gaziev took Dontel Mays to a 3-round decision, whereas Thomas Peterson got knocked out in the first round by the GOAT Shamil Gaziev. Which again, no shame in losing to the GOAT Shamil Gaziev. It's just that Dontel Mays actually looked slightly more impressive, I guess. He looked less of a blob than Thomas Peterson. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Dontel Mays in this fight. Moving on, we have an actual fight now in Gaston Bolaños versus Quang Lee. I'm gonna go with Gaston Bolaños. Quang Lee, he has not really impressed me all that much in his time in the UFC. Lost definitively to Chris Gutierrez. I don't rate Chris Gutierrez, even though he's coming off a lot of wins. And I don't rate his next opponent, Xiao Long, all that highly. Like he's not bad. It's just that I don't think he's gonna get that far compared to comparing to the rest of the bantamweight division. Now Gaston Bolaños, again, he hasn't had the best run in the UFC, but I don't think he's that bad. Like a loss to Marcus McGee, all right, all right, it's acceptable. And he then beat Cortavius Romeus. Again, Cortavius Romeus isn't the best, but I think Quang Lee is roughly the level of a Cortavius Romeus. And that's why I'm picking Gaston Bolaños to win this fight. Gaston Bolaños, he has some nasty kicks. The one thing I worry about is the fact that he's slow as shit with his hands. But I don't think Quang Lee is someone who can take advantage of that. I don't think he has the output that Bolaños should respect on with the hands. And it's not like Quang Lee's this world class grappler who can ragdoll anybody. So I'm gonna go with Gaston Bolaños. Probably get this done in a 29-28 or maybe a 30-27 decision. Moving on, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Jillian Robertson. Now these battles aren't half bad, but I'm gonna go with Jillian Robertson. I think this is pretty obvious because in women's MMA, I've learned the hard way that you can't be a renowned Muay Thai specialist and become a serious contender in women's MMA. Half the time, the judges don't even count damage, which, crazy as it sounds, in fucking combat sport, we don't count damage to who wins the fight in women's MMA. And Jillian Robertson, I just know that she's gonna get a takedown on Marina Rodriguez. Like Rodriguez, her takedown defense is okay, but Jillian Robertson is actually good at grappling. So I reckon that Robertson's gonna ragdoll Rodriguez on the ground. I think second round submission is warranted in my opinion. I don't think Rodriguez has the ground game to necessarily stop Robertson, and not many people do in this division. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for this fight because again, Robertson's pretty good. Robertson is definitely good. I think one more win, I think she'll be looking for someone close to the top five. But yeah, keep an eye out for Jillian Robertson. She's actually half decent in the strawweight division. Moving on, we have Ryan Loder versus Azamat Bakoyev. Now, I tentatively say this, but I'm gonna go with Azamat Bakoyev. Azamat Bakoyev, he looked very good in this fight with Zachary Reese, knocked him out in the first round. And Zachary Reese, he's all right. Like, is he the world beater in the middleweight division? Not really, but again, he has some good wins. Actually, not good wins, but he has some wins. Whereas Ryan Loder, yeah, he made it out of the Ultimate Fighter last year when he beat Robert Valentin. In hindsight, Robert Valentin is not all that impressive, and I don't really rate anything Loder does outside of pure wrestling. I think Bakoyev, if he can keep this fight on the feet, he will tune up Ryan Loder really badly. Something to note: Bakoyev may be on steroids. If you haven't seen his fight with Zachary Reese, very suspicious looking delts and a lot of just brain dead aggression. Like he was like, I don't know I don't remember off the top of my head exactly. I just remember he was committing a lot of fouls and he was like hitting the back of Zachary Reese's head nonstop as Zachary Reese already lost consciousness. So yeah, if the UFC tests this guy for steroids and then like next thing you know, Bakoyev comes out here looking like a complete blob, then this pick may age very poorly. But I just rate Bakoyev's overall more like the more well-rounded game. Whereas Ryan Loder, he primarily looks for to just take you down and just try to submit you. I don't think Ryan Loder's really been tested on the feet, and I think Bakoyev is the guy to do so, which is why I'm going with Bakoyev by round 2 TKO. Moving on, we have Yana Santos versus Misha Tate. I'm gonna go with Misha Tate on this one. Yana Santos, I don't know what she does well. She just kind of clinches up against people in the fence and prays that she wins just by, I guess, smudging people. Whereas Misha Tate actually knows how to grapple and implement jujitsu. Now, there is a worry that Misha Tate is very old, but it's not like Yana Santos is exactly a spring chicken. I don't really remember their ages off the top of my head, but I know that Misha Tate and Yana Santos both have been in the game for quite some time. And I think that Misha Tate, her grappling is very good. Eh, the only worry I have for her is her age, but I don't think Yana Santos has the game to exploit that. And I reckon that Misha Tate either a late round submission or like a dominant decision where she takes Yana Santos's back, locks up the body triangle, and just like peppers her with ground and pound. But yeah, I think that Misha Tate will win this fight over the course of 3 rounds. Moving on to the main card, we have Jeremy Stevens versus Mason Jones. Now, I do not rate Mason Jones all that highly. Like, he is fun to watch, but he doesn't have any head movement. And it's not like Mason Jones is just knocking everyone out in the first round or two. Like, he's taking, like, not the highest level of competitions to a lot of decisions. Again, they're very fun to watch, but Mason Jones does get tagged up a lot, which is kind of a worry against a guy like Jeremy Stevens. Unfortunately, Jeremy Stevens is 38 years old, and he hasn't fought in the UFC octagon in like what 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I don't think that's a great combination for Jeremy Stevens right now, especially against someone like Mason Jones. Again, I just said that I don't rate him all that highly, but Jones is tough. He hits pretty hard, and he'll push a pace on you over the course of 3 rounds. Like, how good is Jeremy Stevens going to look over the course of 3 rounds? It's not like he had the best cardio. He primarily relied on his power, and what, like 4 years removed from the UFC, so it's kind of a worry as to how he'll look. I know Stevens knocked out Eddie Alvarez in bare knuckle boxing. First off, that's bare knuckle boxing, and second off, that's a fellow unk in Eddie Alvarez against a guy who's basically in his prime in Mason Jones. I don't think that's a very good combination for Jeremy Stevens, and I reckon that Mason Jones will probably piece up Jeremy Stevens over the course of 3 rounds. Moving on, we have Cameron Smotherman versus Surrey City. I don't rate either of them, but I'm gonna go with Surrey City. Cameron Smotherman has not impressed me whatsoever in any of his fights. I'm gonna quickly exit out of this tab just to see his I guess history. Okay, he beat Jake Hadley. Right, that doesn't really tell me much. Jake Hadley is a flyweight who moved up the bantamweight for I don't know why, but he just kind of did that. Uh, I remember in that fight, Cameron Smith, he didn't really do much. Like, yeah, he was more active than Jake Hadley, which is why he won that fight. But nothing really impressed me. Whereas Surrey City, he has like flashes of brilliance on the feet. Again, it's not like I rate Surrey City that much higher than Cameron Smotherman. I just believe that Surrey City is skilled enough to kind of avoid the heavy pressure style of Smotherman over here. In a 3 round fight, I'm going to say this goes to a 29-28 decision for Surrey City. Again, this could age badly because Surrey City, he did kind of get fraud checked by Garrett Armfield, but I don't think Smotherman's gonna implement the grappling game like Garrett Armfield, in my opinion. Like Garrett Armfield, I thought he beat Surrey City, but I think he probably. I remember him primarily winning that fight through his grappling. So I'm gonna say that Surrey City wins this fight 29-28 decision, and we're gonna move on to the next fight. Moving on, we have Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos. Okay, now we're getting somewhere because Montel Jackson, he's really good. The only thing that annoys me about Montel Jackson is the fact that he rarely fights and then wonders why he's not getting a jump up in competition. But he's really good. He knocked out Damon Blackshear in 18 seconds. That win has aged extremely well, in my opinion, because Damon Blackshear since has won 3 fights in a row. And I think Montel Jackson is going to fraud check Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos, he's 17-0, undefeated prospect, looking for a ranked opponent. I don't rate Daniel Marcos all that highly, though. The reason I say that is because of Daniel Marcos' output. A lot of the times, he just kind of relies on the fact that one punch will like kind of wobble his opponents. I've never really seen Daniel Marcos throw like with enough volume to get the respect out of like really good strikers. Like in this fight with Davy Grant was just keeping Marcos on the back foot because Grant is actually smart and will throw output when necessary. Whereas Daniel Marcos, he kind of doesn't do that. He just kind of relies on the fact that again, he has more power than everyone and the fact that he has a granite chin, I guess, and he just walks forward looking for that right hand and he doesn't really follow it up with much of anything else. Also, he gasses out. Like in his fight with Adrian Yanez in December, I remember that fight was so shit. Like if Adrian Yanez had a brain and actually like used his kicks, I think that Daniel Marcos would have lost that fight. Unfortunately, Adrian Yanez, he's retarded, and Daniel Marcos was able to survive. I don't think Montel Jackson is going to give him those opportunities, though. Now, Montel Jackson, he has looked very iffy in some performances, but I just rate Montel Jackson as the more polished striker. He's got a lot better shot selection. There's a chance that this fight looks completely dead, but even in a point fight, which I can totally see that happening because neither of these guys are known for their output. I just think that Montel Jackson is a lot more precise. He's a lot more calculative. And hell, he has more power. So if anything, if there are any like big shots thrown between the two of them, I would rely more on Montel Jackson landing the bigger shots. So yeah, I'm gonna say that Montel Jackson, I want to say he gets a TKO, but I think it's kind of hard to knock out Daniel Marcos. So I'm going to go with a 30-27 decision where he just pieces up Daniel Marcos over the course of 3 rounds. Moving on, we have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Daniel Rodriguez. Santiago Ponzinibbio, he is old. And don't get me wrong, Daniel Rodriguez is as well. But Ponzinibbio, like, looks old in his fights. Like, Daniel Rodriguez, I know he has had a little bit of iffy performances over his past few fights, but he's still got his speed, and he's still got his left hand, whereas Santiago Ponzinibbio, I know he beat, Carlston Harris in his last fight. In hindsight, Carlston Harris isn't all that amazing, and, unfortunately for Santiago Ponzinibbio, this is near the end of his career. Now, I don't think this is gonna end in a knockout, but at the same time, Ponzinibbio, he's taken a lot of damage. Rodriguez, I think, is faster than Ponzinibbio at this stage in Ponzinibbio's career. And over the course of 3 rounds, yeah, maybe Ponzinibbio can land the more power, the damaging shots because he has more power. But Daniel Rodriguez, I think he's good enough to evade the power shot of Santiago Ponzinibbio and just kind of piece up Ponzinibbio over the course of 3 rounds. So I'm gonna say that Daniel Rodriguez gets this done 29-28. Maybe Rodriguez gets wobbled in the first round, but by then I think that Rodriguez will be able to figure things out. Co-main event, we got Rainer the Ritter versus Bo Nickel. Uh, Now I want to be the guy to predict when Bo Nickel gets fraud checked because I don't think Bo Nickel is all that amazing. But this is a stylistically a tailor-made matchup for Bo Nickel in my opinion. Now Raider Durinner, his jiu-jitsu is fucking amazing. I just don't trust him on the feet whatsoever. Like dude was getting pieced up by Gerald Mearshart. Like, I get it, I get it. Gerald Mearshart is the middleweight GOAT. But objectively speaking, if you're getting tuned up on the feet by Gerald Mearshart, that's very concerning. That is extremely concerning because Gerald Mearshart isn't known to be the best striker of shorts. Now, can Rainer the Ritter fluke a submission or anything like that? Possible, but I just don't think that Bo Nickel's gonna give him the chance to do so. Like Bo Nickel, I know he hasn't really shown much of his wrestling prowess in the UFC, but I don't think there's a I don't think he needs to shoot takedowns against Rainer the Ritter. If anything, the Ritter should be the one shooting takedowns at Bo Nickel, and I don't think the Ritter's gonna be able to take down Bo Nickel all that easily. Like Bo Nickel, again, even though we shit on him, he is a collegiate level wrestler. Like I believe he was a three-time NCAA champion. And again, the Ritter is pretty good at wrestling. It's just that Bo Nickel is elite at that category. And if you can't take the fight down, I think that Bo Nickel will be able to find a knockout shot over the Ritter because the Ritter, on the feet, he is so bad. Like people compare him to Dricus Duplessis, but not even Dricus is that bad. Like Dricus will actually calculate stuff and he'll actually throw shots to actually land them. The Ritter, outside of a teep, he does not have anything to offer on the feet whatsoever. So over the course of 3 rounds, I think Bo Nickel, the longer this fight stays on the feet, the longer that Bo Nickel will have the opportunity to find a knockout shot. I know that Bo Nickel hasn't done that against Paul Craig, but I'm gonna be honest. I think even Paul Craig's better than Dorito on the feet. Like Paul Craig at least can throw a body kick of doom every once in a while. Like I've not watched a single Dorito fight and went, "Wow, that was a pretty good shot from him." The only time I've been wowed by Dorito is when he's grappling, and that's not gonna work against a guy like Bo Nickel. Again, three-time double NCAA wrestling champion, and just like really good at wrestling, and he's also learning some grappling, jiu-jitsu on the side. So yeah, I think that Bo Nickel, he'll be good enough to keep this fight on the feet, and then he'll outstrike Rainer de Ritter, and possibly even knock him out because Gerald Meerschaert dropped Rainer de Ritter. So I'm gonna say that similar to the Paul Craig fight, 29-28 for Bo Nickel, maybe a 30-27, and possibly even a late round knockout because to be real, the Ritter on the feet is very concerning. All right, main event, we got Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Ooh, this is very close. Now, I do not agree with the odds whatsoever. Minus 400, 410 for Cory Sandhagen is insane. As if he just didn't come off a 50-45 or a 49-46 against Umar Nurmagomedov. But I think I'm still gonna go with Cory Sandhagen. I think Cory Sandhagen, I know he looked really bad in his fight with Umar Nurmagomedov, but I just think that Cory Sandhagen's a lot more slick of a fighter. Like Deiveson Figueiredo, he has the power advantage and maybe a slight grappling advantage, but only slight. Like I don't think Deiveson Figueiredo is nearly good as an Umar Nurmagomedov who can consistently take the back of Cory Sandhagen. And Cory Sandhagen is no slouch on the ground. He's been training that for a while, ever since the first announcement for Umar Nurmagomedov. I just think over the course of 5 rounds, if Deiveson Figueiredo can't take down Cory Sandhagen, then he's gonna have a hard time landing out the knockout shot. And if he does, there is a chance that Cory Sandhagen gets knocked out. I just think Cory Sandhagen is very elusive, and he will be able to manage Deiveson Figueiredo's power over the course of 5 rounds. Like people, I remember I was memeing the fact that Sandhagen always does this stance switch and just throw peppering jabs, tippy tappy jabs, and doesn't really throw anything with a lot of aggression. But I think it was because of the fact that Umar Nurmagomedov was his opponent, where like Sandhagen was so worried about the takedowns. I don't see that with Deiveson Figueiredo, and it's not because Deiveson Figueiredo doesn't have a great ground game. I just don't rate that the takedown aspect as nearly as highly as Umar Nurmagomedov. And Corey Sandhagen, again, I think he will be able to just piece up Davis Figueiredo over the course of 5 rounds. And this is something to note, especially at the top of bantamweight and flyweight. If your whole game plan is around power shots, then it's not as effective, especially at the top level of bantamweight and flyweight. These guys are just too skilled. And in a skilled fight over the course of 5 rounds, I think Sandhagen will be able to piece up Davidson Figueiredo. And we kind of saw that in Figueiredo's fight with Peter Yan, where Yan was able to just time him every time just like covering up with the high guard and then timing an uppercut. Now, is Corey Sandhagen gonna fight like Peter Yan? No, of course not. I just believe that Sandhagen, he's just gonna have ways to deal with Figueiredo's pressure. The flying knee is there for him. The uppercuts are there for him. And Figgy, he loves to like just blitz. He's not really someone who likes to move laterally. He just stands tall, throws like a 1-2 or a leg kick, and I think over the course of 5 rounds, Sandhagen will be able to surgically pick apart Deiveson Figueiredo. I will guess 49-46 or 48-47. It's not like Deiveson Figueiredo is gonna get blown out the water, and there is a possibility where Figueiredo gets Sandhagen's chin and knocks him out. I'm not banking on the possibility of a KO shot though, and I just don't see Figueiredo really having success on the ground like he did against previous opponents. So yeah, I'm gonna say that Cory Sandhagen gets this done 48-47, 49-46 decision to cap off UFC Des Moines. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys rate UFC Des Moines overall, as well as your predictions for this event. But other than that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.